Today is World Rohingya Day. It's a day to raise awareness about a very serious issue currently ongoing in Myanmar that very few people are aware of. So Myanmar, for those of you who don't know, is a majority Buddhist country, and they have a tiny Muslim minority. It's about 4% of the population or so. And from here, I'm going to let BBC take over and explain what their conditions are like.
Conflict and persecution scar Myanmar's moves towards democracy. To reach Chen Yip-yin, it's a 2-hour journey by boat. The camp is home to 4,000 Rohingya Muslims who fled Buddhist attacks 3 years ago. On our way, we pass a man tending the grave of his 2-month-old baby boy. 7 children have died here in the last month. None of them saw a doctor. This is why 2 months ago Buddhist mobs violently attacked international aid agencies in the state capital Sitwe. Offices were ransacked and those providing healthcare to the Rohingya forced to leave. That means there are now tens of thousands of Muslims like Arabana without access to medical help. She's in so much pain she can no longer walk. I want to be treated, she says, but I'm scared if I'm taken to hospital, the Buddhists will attack me. Across camp, we hear similar stories. There have been only 3 visits from Burmese government doctors since the aid agencies left, and no one trusts Buddhists to transfer them safely to hospital.
What's happening here isn't being dictated by the central Burmese government, but by the local Rakhine Buddhist community. It's them who are stopping these Muslim Rohingya leaving from the camps, and it's them who are stopping aid agencies bringing healthcare in. In the past, the Burmese government would have simply acted decisively and forced their will on the people. Now, they say they're powerless to act.
The Rakhine Buddhists are one of many Burmese minorities worried about their place in a country emerging from decades of military rule. At this village, the fishermen tell me that they should be receiving aid, not the Rohingya, who they say have come here illegally from Bangladesh. Back in a Rohingya camp near Sitwe, there's no one with medical training, but if you're desperate and you've got money, you visit this little shack. One of today's patients is a painfully thin 2-month-old baby boy called Mama Rohin. He's given rehydration fluids, but his needs are clearly much greater. We suffer and we die. That is our fate, his mum tells me. There are those who are calling what's happening here a slow-burning genocide, others ethnic cleansing. Whatever words you choose, this is a human tragedy. People trapped in camps, dying, and denied the most basic of rights.
So Amnesty International explains further here. Quote, they are effectively denied citizenship under national law. Waves of violence against the Rohingya, mostly recently erupting in 2012, have forced tens of thousands into overcrowded camps where they live in desperate conditions. Some people said that they had been abducted by traffickers in Myanmar or Bangladesh, whereas others have been promised a safe passage to Malaysia for a nominal fee, a tactic commonly used by traffickers looking to coerce people into forced labor. So you have people fleeing. Over 1,000 people have died on boats trying to get somewhere else so they can be safe and not have such a horrible life. There was a story not that long ago of a boat of Rohingya Muslims who hadn't eaten in like a week, and they were saved at the last minute. So again, many have died at sea. Others have been, coerced and brought into slavery. And it's just a horrible situation, man. It's a horrible situation. And, they explained in great detail there in that BBC News report. So what's the solution? It's always hard in these situations to come up with a good solution, but I mean, UN pressure is pretty important, and trying to get aid groups in there by any means necessary. That seems like an absolute must-do. And then also perhaps targeted sanctions on Myanmar to make them do the right thing. But what we're dealing with here is a deep, deep issue of tribalism and bigotry and xenophobia and fundamentalism among some Buddhists there. So It's a terrible situation, and hopefully it gets taken care of and it gets fixed, although it's been going on for years already, so I don't know how hopeful that is. But World Rohingya Day gives us an opportunity to raise awareness about this and also flip the stereotypes on their head, too. I mean, there's no doubt, and I'm not saying this isn't true, of course it's true, there's a lot of fundamentalist Islam-related terror attacks around the world. There's no denying that. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, you go down the list. Al-Shabaab. Nobody's denying any of that, and it's terrible. This is an instance where it's kind of a reality check in the sense that whoever thinks it's always the Muslims, they're all bad. Look at what's happening here. Here you have this poor Rohingya Muslim population who are clearly, overwhelmingly the victims, and you have Buddhist fundamentalists who are committing the atrocities. And again, that's another stereotype flipped on its head, because typically when you talk about religious violence, Buddhism ranks low on that, because statistically it is pretty low. So, but this shows you that the world is not black and white, man. It's shades of gray all over the place, and nobody's exempt from tribalism and bigotry and xenophobia, and we should oppose it wherever we find it.